This episode of the MLB Guardcast is brought to us by NovaDigitalArts. Are you looking to spruce up your company's logo or website? Are you looking for help when it comes to digital arts and marketing? Look no further than NovaDigitalArts. You can check out their work at NovaDigitalArts at iCloud.com. Be sure to tell them the MLB Guardcast sent you. NovaDigitalArts, located in Greene, Ohio. Give our friend Derek a call at 234-716-1687. Nova Digital Arts, creating magic since 2007. All right, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, it is time for another episode of the MLB Guardcast, episode number 15. I am Mike Vorhies, and with me, as always, statistician extraordinaire, Bryan Shaw. Bryan, we're trending upward.
Well, we were
trending upward, and then San Diego came to town, we went to San Diego.
But things have improved. It is the
Yes.
improvement that we said that we wanted to see in a lot of situations, and it's the progress you asked for. They're still under 500. They're still in second place, but as you said, progress.
Yeah, we had got it down to a game and a half behind Minnesota. Unfortunately, that is not the case now, as we have dropped 2 straight to the San Diego Padres. And I forgot to write down what they are. They are 3.5 games back of the Minnesota Twins. But fear not, the team showing signs of life. They are now 5 games under 500, as opposed to, I believe they were 7 when we recorded last.
Yeah, I think 7 was the worst spot, which was the first time they were 7 under since like 2015, something like that.
Yeah, so there have been 18 games since we last recorded. We recorded shortly before Memorial Day. And so 18 games. And here's a quick recap of what transpired for our Guardians. We had the Cardinals at home. We won the series 2-1. We had the Orioles after that. Guess what? We won the series 2-1. We had the Twins for 4, and we split 2-2, which I will take. And then we had the Red Sox. We won the series again. We went 2-1. The Astros, I actually got to see a game live. That Friday night game, the back and forth extra inning games. We'll talk about that in a little bit. We won the series again, 2-1. And then unfortunately, we're 0-2 against the Padres with another one tonight. Hopefully we can get a win. The schedule does not get any easier.
Well, we said that, though, coming into this batch of games,
Yeah,
and they beat some good teams. Now, the Padres are not that good so far this year, so it's like they're playing to their opponent almost.
Well, I think the Padres are hitting their stride. I think they had a lot of questions going in. Juan Soto looked completely lost. Tatis hadn't really hit his stride, but he has looked really good in the 2 games that I've seen against us. Their pitching staff has looked really well. I cannot believe we made Michael Wacha look like a Cy Young pitcher last night. That drives me nuts.
Yeah,
But
that's the unfortunate thing, is because during this stretch, we had talked about last time how they were statistically the worst in every offensive category. They are no longer the worst in every offensive category. They've brought their batting average up to 20th. Now, you might say, well, 20th still isn't good. No, it's not. It's still below half the league. However, when you were last and in 3 weeks, you've gotten yourself up to 20, that's a big improvement. And it stings to see kind of them almost take a step back here against the Padres, where during this stretch, you talk about the Astros game. You almost had that feeling of last year where it's like, they're going to find a way to win this. They're going to find a way to pull this out. Whereas most of the season so far this year, if they get down a few runs early, you're like, this is over, because the offense has just been terrible. And I felt that way so far with the Padres. There just hasn't been that fight, that that effort to just I mean, getting shut out last night, that game was so boring. And
Yeah.
I we'll get to individual players, but there's a few guys on here on this team right now that they're not doing the things that they're on the team and they're
Right.
supposed to be doing. And if they're not going to do the things that they're known for and they're supposed to be doing, and maybe you looked past some of their deficiencies because they could do, then why are they here?
Yeah. What frustrates me about last night is we had 5 hits as a team. Rosario had a hit, Ramirez had a hit, Naylor had a hit, Bell had a hit, and then Brennan had a hit. Those have been the 5 best hitters in my opinion as of late. Where's Stephen Kwan?
Except for Rosario. I'll
Yeah,
disagree with that statement
Rosario,
because
he
look at
does
also what he
this.
look what he also did with that hit. He got pegged out
Yeah,
at first
yeah.
because he turned the corner, and he's kind of the one that I was really talking about there,
Mhm.
where base running blunders.
Oh,
You can't
him
have
and
that.
no, fielding, he's made errors that he shouldn't make. I mean, Rosario, I would agree with you. He's been up and down when it comes to hitting. He had what, a 4 for 5 game. He went 4 for 4. He'd
But
go 3 for 4.
that was
Yeah.
way back when we were
He
playing at Boston, at New York. He had that stretch there
yeah,
in what was that? Late April, early May.
I
I
think it
think it
was
was
May.
early May. So that
Yeah.
was 6 weeks ago.
Yeah,
And
he's
then
not
he's not been
well,
what you could ask for since
and
because
you can
he's hitting 233.
yeah, you could point fingers at Jimenez too. The middle infield has not been great. I know Jimenez has been bothered by an injury. I'm hoping it's not serious. I'm thankful he was back in the lineup last night. He actually drew a walk, which kind of shocked me. We don't see that a lot from him. But yeah, he just hasn't that our middle infield has been really strange this year. If we could get both of them to be on at the same time, I think we'll be good. But you know, only time will tell. You also talked about individual performances. The Guardians made some moves, Brian, since the last time we talked. They designated for assignment 2 guys that kind of shocked me a little bit. I remember texting you when the news broke. Zach Plesac, uh, guy who really doesn't have a great standing with either one of us, was designated for assignment, and so was Richie Palacios. The team needed a 40-man spot when Cody Morris was activated off the 60-day injured list. Palacios was that guy, unfortunately. He is subject to waivers and haven't seen anybody pick him up as of yet.
No, not yet. I think they're hoping he slips through. I'm sure they do want him back. I don't think he was having a bad season in AAA.
Mm-mm.
Plesac getting DFA doesn't surprise me because he's been terrible in AAA. Now he went unclaimed. I think part of that
Right.
is because of his 3 million arbitration signing.
Yeah.
He went unclaimed. He's back at AAA, so he's back with the team. Um,
But
hope
he's
maybe
not
they can
on the
turn him into a bullpen arm. But
yeah, he's not on the 40 man. So
right.
they'll
And
have to
then
make some moves. And
and
how
then
about
Palacios is kind of surprising just because I don't know. I feel like the outfield depth has gotten small quickly.
yeah, it's
And
thinned out a bit.
what hasn't helped, at least from the standing of fans, is watching Nolan Jones smack balls into outer space.
Hold on though. He does play in Colorado.
He
I think you
does.
could go to Colorado and hit like him. I really do. I trust me. I was shocked when we traded Nolan Jones, but having the opportunity to see Juan Brito play, that kid's got something, and he was very fun to watch.
Okay, great. Where's he
So,
going to play?
well, you know,
Did we need more middle infielders?
no, we don't, and we'll talk about that here a little bit later on. The other big name that the Guardians took off of the roster, which I did hear people clap. I've heard people frustrated. But James Karinchak, aka Wild Thing, sent to Triple A. 2-4, an ERA just under 4. He has struck out 38 batters in 27 and two-thirds innings. But man, he has not looked right. He looks lost on the mound. He has struggled with the pitch clock, his location.
It's the
Uh,
walks.
yeah,
And
the
and
walks are way up.
and he did have a stretch where he was a little bit better, but it was in low pressure situations.
Yeah.
Sixth inning, clean inning, either they're down big or up big or, something along those lines. He's so frustrating. I
Well,
love him when he's good, but
mhm,
he's frustrating when he's bad. I remember a game specifically not long ago where he loaded the bases on three batters and then they yanked him. And thank you for Sam Henches to get him out of it and save him,
mhm.
because then Sam got all the outs and got out of the inning. But then don't forget the grand slam a few weeks ago
Yeah.
that he gave up
We
against, I think, the Mets.
I think we
Um,
all called that grand
we
slam. We all
did.
knew it was
All
coming
of
and
Twitter, all of
yep.
Twitter saw it was coming. So he needs to go back down, just kind of sort some things out, and whether it's the pitch clock that is allowing for his control to not be there, or if it's a mechanic thing, he can't be Wild Thing. He has to be
Right.
a little more controlled.
Mhm.
So that's not that wasn't a huge surprise given his struggles and given, Cody Morris getting called up and a couple of other guys. Um, Cal Quantrill also went on the injured list.
He did.
So, when we were talking about like who do you take out of the starting rotation, well, an injury helped us out with that. Now, I
Yeah, a
did
little
see
bit.
something interesting. I think it was from the Bally guys that
Mhm.
there's a very, very large percentage of World Baseball Classic pitchers that are dealing with issues. So it's those
Yeah.
extra games and, not as much time to warm up. So, I do wonder, is it one of those things where are they blaming Cal's struggles on the inflammation, or are they just using shoulder inflammation as an opportunity to send him down for a little bit, give him some time and work things out for 2-3 weeks?
If there was a pitcher on the Guardian staff that needed to hit the reset button, Kyle Quantrill would be your guy. I mean, he was dominant at home last year. So much fun to watch. This year, it's just he has not looked the same. I did see that he will throw a bullpen session during this road trip. And they're hoping the bullpen session goes well, then they can talk about a rehab assignment. But then when he comes back, who goes?
Maybe
Because
you
our
move him
starters are healthy.
maybe you move him to the bullpen. I don't know.
Or
Um,
or Guardians fans, this is going to be a tough pill to swallow. Trade season is upon us. Rumors are circulating. Does Cleveland trade Shane Bieber?
I think so.
I
Um,
don't see why you wouldn't. I
I think
know,
I think so, but you still have 6 weeks for that.
right?
So you still have time. I'm gonna think of it like the same time when we traded Trevor Bauer.
Hmm.
So they traded Trevor Bauer, but what and got better immediately while also getting better for the future,
Yeah.
because they brought in Franmil Reyes with that trade. They brought in Yasiel Puig with that trade. They brought in guys to compete for the current season, and then they
Hmm.
brought in, some guys to compete for the future as well. Now, it, at the time, that trade looked pretty good, but now since Franmil's gone and that has subsided, I mean, yes, you got rid of Trevor Bauer, and Trevor Bauer had one good season with Cincinnati, and since then has had many, many struggles. So maybe it's one of those trades that just didn't really work out for anybody. But
Yeah.
my point is the concept of it. If you still want to try to compete for the division, which is really your only path to the playoffs, um, you can trade. I think you can trade Shane Bieber and not say the season is over.
Yeah. I mean, you got to look at it this way, and this was a tough pill for me to swallow. Somewhere Brent Spillane is laughing at me because I said that the Guardians would never trade Bieber. They'd be foolish to. But if you look at it from a business standpoint, are we going to pay him the money that he's going to demand as a starting pitcher? He's really good.
They've given him an offer. He didn't want to take it. I don't know what
Yeah.
that offer is, but will he get a better offer somewhere else? It's hard to say.
Yes, I think you will.
I'm sure.
You've got larger market teams with bigger
Yeah,
checkbooks.
I'm sure. So they've made an offer that they're willing to make.
Mhm.
And if you trade him at this trade deadline, his value is significantly more than if you wait to the offseason. Because
Right.
if you wait to the offseason, then whoever he goes to, they're going to want 2 seasons of playoff run with him. And you also have to consider, I know he had just an incredible outing this past outing,
Yeah, he
but
did.
you have to consider he's a different pitcher now than he was in his Cy Young year. His velocity's down, his strikeout rates are down, his hard hit percentages are up. So there's certain things in there that make you say, how long is this sustainable? And if you gave him that long-term deal, you have to think if we're looking at that, they're looking at that. So
Oh, yeah.
I think it's one of those things where they know they have guys in the pipeline and they could hopefully, plug in and help replace. But I do think you need to trade Shane Bieber because you need bats.
Yeah, the offense has been okay. We've improved slightly over the last few games. But I think when it comes to Cleveland, we know that we are a pitching pipeline. I mean, Tanner Bybee has looked great. Logan Allen has looked great. We have Tristan McKenzie. You have Savali. You have Cal Quantrill. You've got Cody Morris. There's more coming. Uh,
Gavin Williams, Daniel Espino.
you can't play them all. You're gonna have to. So you talked about all those middle infield prospects. I think here's the chance for Cleveland to maybe trade Shane Bieber and some of those prospects, and then let's get some help. Let's get a right fielder that can hit. I'm not putting Gabriel Arias down in any way, but he's not our answer in right field. Oscar
Well,
Gonzalez had his chance and they sent him down and he's slowly heating up. So is he going to come back up?
and
Who
here's
else
the
can
problem. Here's the problem with Arias.
Mhm,
They're pitching him against lefties because he's a righty. They pitch
mhm,
Brennan, or they bat Brennan against righties because he's a lefty. So they alternate in right field.
yeah.
Arias has reverse splits,
Mhm.
meaning he hits 288 against righties and only 104 against lefties. That's not
And
your typical situation.
did you see Brennan? Because I believe Brennan hits lefties and righties
Pretty
almost at the
equal.
same clip. Yeah.
So
So Brennan should be playing every day, in my opinion.
and
I think he earned that.
you could play Arias. You have to Ahmed's just got to go with Shane Bieber or go at the same time. You got to, and I don't even know if he has any trade value at this point because he's
Do you
just
know
been that
do you
bad.
know what team's looking for a shortstop? I can tell you 2 teams right now that are looking for a shortstop. I'd be on the phone with them right now.
But do they want Tyler
They
Freeman or Gabriel Arias instead of Ahmed Rosario?
potentially, the one would be the Yankees. They gave the starting shortstop job to Anthony Volpe, and he has not looked Yankee-esque for them. Boston Red Sox would be the other one. They're looking for a shortstop because I mean Yu Chang was their shortstop for a little bit. They've put Kiki Hernandez at short. The guy plays everywhere. They need a shortstop.
But
I'm sure there's
Boston's
some.
not. Is Boston going to make a postseason run? I don't
They
think so.
might that East. All 5 teams are over 500.
Mhm.
So that division might be fun to watch come
The
the end of.
Yankees, I could see, but do you want to trade Rosario to the Yankees and then potentially have to play him in the postseason?
Yeah, I think we could beat them.
All right.
Is this the same? Is this the same Rosario that we had last year, who sucked at the beginning of the season, and we're like, okay, we're waiting. He finally got hot
He led
and
the team
was
in hits last year.
exactly this year, not so much.
Well, let's talk about a couple of guys that have just really come on, because I know we've been kind
Yeah,
of down for this first part of today's pod, but oh my goodness, is Josh Naylor just ripping the cover off of the ball right now and doing everything that you could have wanted out of him.
he wanted the smoke. He's got the smoke. Josh Naylor has been one of our most clutch hitters. I watched him again that Friday night game against Houston. We went down 5-0 early, and watching that team battle back, Josh Naylor was a huge part of that. He almost had a grand slam that would have put everybody in a tizzy. The ball was caught at the top of the wall. The
I
outfielder
know.
made a tremendous catch. He also had clutch hits in that game. It, he looked like the Josh Naylor we have come to love, the same guy that hit 2 home runs late in the game against Chicago White Sox last year. That same Josh Naylor. He was fired up. He was animated. It looked incredible, and he is contagious when he's
And
hitting.
his batting average, I think the last time we recorded 3 weeks ago was like 220, if not
And
like
it's
maybe a little bit
2
better to 230. He now
he
leads the
is
team in
hitting
batting average.
hitting 286. Josh Naylor.
He leads the team in RBIs at
Yep.
48. He has 8 home runs. I mean, he's just and I think he's on like a 13-game hit streak or something like that.
Yeah, it's Josh Naylor, former San Diego Padre, so I would love to see him do something tonight against his former team. That would be really great. I
I
would
think
like
half
to
our
see his
roster is former Padres.
I wasn't gonna say that. That's a rabbit hole. We don't want to go down that rabbit hole, but yes. And Jose Ramirez was potentially a Padre before he signed his extension with us. So there's so many things we could talk about with the Padres and Cleveland. They make a fantastic trade partner. Are they looking for anybody? Just kidding. Not yet.
I don't know.
Let's get out of San Diego first, and then we can make calls with them. But you talk about Josh Naylor. How about Mr. Cleveland Guardian Jose Ramirez?
Yeah,
He
he's come on.
he had a 3 homer game. That was awesome. He is hitting in that Houston series. He was hitting the ball everywhere. They finally realized that he was the best hitter we have, and they started walking him. They're like, "Hey, you know what? We're not going to
And
let him
then
beat us."
and then Josh Naylor's finally making teams pay for
Exactly.
walking Jose.
It was
And
amazing.
and then also Josh Bell has come on.
Yeah.
And so you finally have a middle lineup that's really starting to come together. Whereas at the beginning of the season, it was the back end of guys like
Yeah.
Draw and Zanino and Brennan were getting hits at the beginning of the season,
You
and then
you just
those guys have kind of tailed off.
you just said a 4-letter word, even though it's not a 4-letter word. His last name has more letters, but our catchers, don't even get me started with our catchers.
I don't
Uh,
I
uh,
don't understand it at this point, because if you want to get into that, we can. The other Naylor needs to be here.
yeah, where is Bo Naylor? The guy is doing extremely well in AAA.
He's on like
He
a
would
10-game hit streak.
and his backup, Zach Collins, who's been playing DH in AAA, is hitting well. Neither one of them are here. We're stuck with Zanino and Gallagher and Fry. Neither one of them are none of them are hitting over 200.
Fry barely
Gallagher at
plays.
times Gallagher at times has looked good. I mean, he's hit the ball well, and at one point, I think he had a batting average higher than Zanino. I
But
don't think he does now.
at least Cam calls a game,
Yeah,
a good game, and is a better behind the plate. Zanino's he can't block a ball,
no,
letting pass balls. So Zanino can't hit, can't struggles behind the plate. The only thing I could think of for a little while here was
mhm.
arbitration manipulation. So
Uh, and
there is a
I
thing.
hope you're wrong on that, but I think you might be right.
Okay, but now I'm gonna break this down, and this is gonna get convoluted a little bit. So
Okay.
there's a thing in MLB called Super 2.
Mhm.
So the top 22% of prospects will get a year of MLB eligibility at a certain cutoff point, and it varies. So
Mhm.
it's 2 years plus a certain amount of days. Last year, that cutoff was 128 calendar days. The year before was 116 calendar days. So it was 2 years and 116 calendar days. Bo Naylor, according to Fangraphs, has 5 days of service time. And so basically then it's 111 days to October 1st. So how many days are we until October 1st now at this point?
That's a great question. Where's
Well,
Alexa when I need her?
The Google's going to tell me we're 108 days until October 1st.
Well, so
So we're under the 116 because it's 5 plus 108, so 113. So we're under the 116. If Bo Naylor is not here for the next series after Zunino's terrible game before the Padres game, and then another terrible game yesterday,
yeah,
Bo Naylor needs to be here because we're past that point of manipulation on arbitration. He's not going to get a year of eligibility this year. So they should be fine. So at this point, I don't know what it is. And we've seen a couple of things like Mandy Bell had an article with um, the assistant GM, and it was just kind of a lot of non-answer about why
mhm.
Bo's not here.
Oh,
And
Bo's great, but
but he need, we got to make sure he can lead, lead a pitching staff and lead meetings and stuff. Okay, well, how are you going to know he can or can't do that until he's actually here doing that?
right,
And you can't say that he hasn't pitched with most of these guys on the starting rotation or most of these guys in the bullpen because they've made Tristan was in AAA making a rehab assignment. Quantrill has been in AAA making a rehab assignment. Savali was in AAA making a rehab assignment. Plezak's now
yeah,
back down there. So he's caught these guys that mostly have been on the team.
yeah.
So at this point, I don't know what it is. Is it
Well,
because you've paid Zunino $5 million and you feel like you need a return on that investment? Fine, then just send David Fry back down, leave Zunino on the bench, and pinch hit him in the right matchup situation.
I think Tito had said after I forget what game that Cam Gallagher would see more playing time. That led to a lot of speculation, at least in Twitter land, to people saying, "Is it Bo time? Is it time for Bo? Is Bo Naylor going to come?" We expected Bo to be added to the team before the team went to San Diego. That didn't happen. What are they waiting for? Like, I knew when we signed Mike Zunino that this was a risk. He was injured last year. We know that he doesn't hit for a high average. He has power, so he can hit. But defensively, he's a liability behind the plate.
But he hasn't shown any power this
No,
year.
he's had a few home runs. I mean, he's hitting. I think he's hitting a
He's
buck
got 3 home
77.
runs.
Yeah, he's hitting a buck 77. So are we looking at the Roberto Perez, Austin Hedges, fill in the blank with the catchers that don't hit over 200? Is that what this team is going to be known for, or do they want to bring up this kid who looks like he could play the role and play it well? You're telling me that Cam Gallagher and David Fry and Mike Zunino are better than Bo Naylor? Is that what the Guardians are telling everybody?
I can't see how that's
It
the
doesn't make
case.
sense. Yeah, it doesn't make sense.
And
This team,
Zanino was a good catcher at one point. And
yeah,
so up here, you keep him on the team because he can help Bo in certain situations, help him lead that team. But at this point, after maybe it's his nerve injury that just he hasn't been able to come back to form, or
yeah.
just his age is catching up with him at this
Then
point.
use him as a backup. Have him be
That's
our
what I
backup
mean.
catcher.
Yes, that's what
Exactly.
I mean. Keep him as a mentor. You can keep him on the team. You signed him to be a stopgap to Bo Naylor. It is Bo Naylor time. Let's get the Naylor Bros up here, the Super Naylor Bros, and
Oh, I like it. That's a shirt.
and
It's gonna be a shirt. I guarantee that's a shirt.
and start and like let's make a run. Like
Yeah.
let's see some effort because that's the other thing that I'm kind of frustrated by with some of these moves of keeping Rosario at number 2 and not seeing more of Tyler Freeman and
You obviously knew exactly what I was getting ready to say. Why the hell is Tyler Freeman not playing more? When he's in the lineup, he hits and plays well. He's the reason he won the game for us the other night against Houston. It was his double that scored David Fry as the winning run, and we won the game. Why
Yeah.
is Tyler? He's hitting 279. Tyler Freeman looks like he's ready. He looks like he's moved ahead of Gabriel Arias in that pecking order. Let him play.
Right.
I
And he's been up for a
Ahmed
while now.
Rosario, listen, Ahmed Rosario, didn't he play the outfield at one point? Put him in
Well, that
right
was a
field.
disaster.
I know, but put him in right field then. Or put him at DH and maybe we let Josh Naylor dabble in right field a little bit. Something. We need to get Tyler Freeman at bats. I don't know how, but he needs to play. He
Yeah.
looks good. You can't play him one game and then sit him for 5 and then put him back in the lineup and expect him to play well.
Well, that's
He
David Fry.
needs
He plays like every
yeah,
10th game. And,
yeah,
so I don't blame him for not, lighting up the hitting situation. But what I was going to say is that this is what kind of is frustrating to me right now is I just I don't see any urgency or to compete.
no. Yeah, I agree.
And because and there's been some interviews and Tito said, "Well, what changes would you make and who would you put into and these kinds of things." And it's like, "Okay, but do something. You can't just sit and do nothing while a guy continues to struggle." And like I said at the beginning of the podcast, if Rosario isn't going to run the bases properly, if he's going to be a liability in the field, and he can't hit, like, then why is he here? Like, what
Yeah,
is he doing? What is he
he's
bringing you? Some locker room leadership?
He's one of Tito's favorites. We know Jose Ramirez has spoke very highly of Ahmed Rosario on his clubhouse, like
Right.
how he is
But
put him
what I
to the
want to say
bench.
to that is Jose is a guy who's meticulous, right?
Mhm.
I would have to think Jose's starting to get frustrated with Ahmed and these mental blunders of
Yeah,
base running and those kinds of things because
yeah,
last year Ahmed and Jose were said to set the tone and to play the game properly. Well, I don't know what's going on with Ahmed this year, but he's just not doing really anything right now.
is it a mental thing for Ahmed because he knows his time's almost up? He doesn't have a contract for next year with us. It could that be playing a role? Who knows? I think he knows he's looking in the rearview mirror and he knows that there's young kids coming. The triple A is has prospects and double A has prospects and single like we've talked about it in length about our infield depth. Something's got to give. Maybe move Rosario out, put Freeman in, take a run, see what happens. The schedule doesn't get easier, guys. As soon as they're done in San Diego, they go to Arizona for 3. Then they're back home for a 3-game series with Oakland, a 3-game series with Milwaukee. Then they're back on the road with Kansas City, and we go to my second favorite stadium of all time, Wrigley Field, to play 3 against the Cubs. That takes us into the July 4th holiday. Uh, Something has to give. If it's Bo Naylor time, Bo better be here by the time that the plane lands in Arizona. Or save him for the home opener, the home game after the road trip when Oakland's in town. Then you let him and let the fans go nuts when Bo Naylor is announced in the lineup. Something. We need a jolt. This team is on the cusp. They've shown signs of life. They've shown that the signs of last year where they were never out of a game and they would find a way to win. Yes, yesterday we got spanked by San Diego. We're going to have games like that. But the time is now. If they're going to make a run, it has to be now. Because if we don't and we stay this up, down, win 2, lose 4, win 1, lose 5, like we're going to be sellers at the trade deadline. We're going to be talking about our offseason plans, and Brian and I are going to be talking more about our vacations
Well,
than the Guardians.
and I mentioned this maybe a month or two ago. Then you will see the young guys
Yeah,
because
you're
you're
going to have
going to
to.
trade. I don't even know if you can trade Mike Zunino, but anybody who's on a 1-year deal is going to be gone. Whether
I think,
that's
yeah,
also Josh Bell But Bieber, Josh Bell, Ahmed Rosario, Mike Zunino, those guys are all gone.
Yeah,
If you're out of contention.
they have to be. Something's got to give, Brian. We'll give it another couple weeks. We've got another holiday coming. We'll record after the holiday and let's see where we're at. Maybe we're getting ready for the playoffs. Maybe we're talking upcoming trades. Something will happen. I'd like it to be positive. I want to be positive. I don't want to be negative. Tired of being negative. I want to be positive. Brian, where can they find you and us on social media?
At Weathershaw on Twitter, WXSHAW. We are Guardcast MLB on Twitter. On Facebook, it's just MLB Guardcast. Very simple to find. Bryan Shaw on Facebook, just BRYANSHAW. You should be able to find me. How about yourself, Mike?
I am on Facebook and Twitter at Mike Vorhies. We're on YouTube, guys. If you love listening to us on Spotify or Apple Music, we'll include the link for YouTube. You can go watch us, see what we look like. You can look at my ugly mug. You can look at the handsome man, Bryan Shaw. I mean, whatever you want to do.
And then you'll also be able to see when we do air quotes a bunch of times.
Air quotes and hand gestures and all sorts of things.
Yeah, all the flailing that goes on.
Something. Yes. Let's see where we're at in a few weeks. Guards fans, I mean, buckle up. I'm going to go on record. Buckle up. I think things are going to get very interesting very quick.
I hope so. I hope so. At the very least, I want to start seeing some wins, because I apparently I'm bad luck during that whole stretch of wins. Of the few losses, I saw 2 of them.
No.
So apparently I can't seem to catch wins when I go to the games. I'm glad you were able to see an amazing victory against the Astros. That's the kind of team that we want.
Mm-hmm.
That's the kind of team that we want to see, and I want to see more of it.
Buckle up, Guards fans. It's coming. We'll see you in a few weeks.
Talk to you soon.